Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dread Time Stories. I'm your host, Dr. Phobia. And tonight, dear patients, after last month's success with the video on phobias, I figured we would take this topic and go a little further down the rabbit hole. Now, these are still rational phobias, but they're a little less common than some of the ones we spoke of in the last video. Eventually, we'll cover those uncommon phobias and really dive deep into the depths of fear. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's study of part 2 into phobias. Starting off our list this evening is Astrophobia, the fear of thunder and lightning. This affects about 10% of the people right here in the good old US of A. Astrophobia is the fear of thunder and lightning. People with this phobia will experience extreme symptoms of anxiety during storms, which many times will be amplified if the person is alone. People with astrophobia will be likely to constantly update on the weather and will avoid leaving home if a storm is expected. During the storm, they will often be found in a safe place to hide, where the noise will be diminished. This fear can also be experienced by animals, such as cats and dogs. The fear of thunder and lightning is thought to come from a traumatic experience related to a storm involving the above mentioned. So a funny story about this actually. My mother has this, but it's basically because of the loud noise. And I'm pretty sure she passed it on to our dog growing up. Because every time the lightning would flash or the thunder would boom, she would let out this little cry. And I'm pretty sure she gave her dog PTSD. Thanks, Mom. Love you. Up next on our list, we have Triphanophobia, the fear of injections. This also affects about 10% of the US. Triphanophobia is the fear of injections, also known as the fear of needles. People with triphanophobia will experience anxiety in response to procedures requiring a needle stick, such as getting a shot or getting their blood drawn. The response can often occur at the site of a needle before the procedure is performed. They will often become very dizzy or even faint in response to the needle stick. People with triphanophobia may avoid medical care due to their fear. In some cases, the symptoms of triphanophobia can also be induced while observing others undergoing injections. The anxiety may also be linked to a fear of hospitals, doctors, or even medical procedures in general. It can also be the result of a traumatic experience with a prior procedure involving an injection. Rolling into our list at number 3, we have Agoraphobia, the fear of a situation where escape may be difficult. This has affected 1% of the United States. Agoraphobia is defined in many ways, but in general it is known as the fear of where escape may be difficult, or where help may not be able to reach them in case of an emergency. Other definitions include the fear of leaving home, the fear of crowds, or the fear of having a panic attack in public. People with agoraphobia tend to think of places outside of their home as unsafe. People with agoraphobia usually experience flashes of severe fear resembling a panic attack. They may avoid situations such as traveling on public transit, visiting the mall, standing in large crowds where exits may be limited, or even being in spaces that are wide open where they may be too exposed. Their symptoms can sometimes be relieved if accompanied by another person. This phobia may stem from a traumatic experience, such as a loved one dying or being injured in a traumatic situation. It can also be the fear of being a victim of a crime, an act of terrorism, exposure to illness, or even being in an accident. Number 4 on our list is claustrophobia, the fear of small spaces. It affects 5% of the United States. Claustrophobia is the fear of small spaces. Space can vary from a confined area like a closet or an elevator to being trapped within a crowded room, where others are invading one's personal space. When feeling trapped, they may experience extreme sensations of anxiety, similar to a panic attack, which are likely to subside when they remove themselves from the space or the situation. People with claustrophobia will avoid putting themselves in these situations whenever possible. This phobia may stem from a traumatic event as a child, such as being trapped in a small space for some period of time. And finally, on number 5 tonight, I wanted to actually cover 2 phobias that are very similar together, all in one shot. So, we'll start with Thalassophobia, the fear of deep bodies of water, such as a lake or an ocean. Now, you're probably wondering, what makes this different from aquaphobia, the fear of water? Where aquaphobia involves the fear of water itself, Thalassophobia centers on a body of water that seem vast, dark, deep, and dangerous. People are not afraid of the water so much as they are afraid what lurks beneath the surface. This will affect 1 in 8 people within their lifetime. On a similar note, we have Submechanophobia, the fear of submerged man-made objects, whether partially or entirely under the water. So the real question is it truly safe to go swimming? I'll leave that up to you to decide. Well, dear patients, hopefully one of these popped up tonight that does affect you, and we can work on it in our next session. I'm thinking electrotherapy this time. So, like I always say in closing, check under your bed, look in your closet, and sleep with the light on. The life you save may very well be your own. Good night, everyone.